Hi, I'm Mike. This is the Lincoln Park Conservatory, and we're going to do a little tour of it today. I'm one of the docents, and we're going to talk today about some of the medicinal effects of some of the plants we see growing in the palm room. The Lincoln Park Conservatory was built around the late 1890s. It came at a time when these kinds of greenhouses and conservatories around the world were being experimented with and used to grow plants in places where the weather wasn't conducive to a lot of plant growing. It also came in Chicago at a time when the World's Fair was going on the south side. So this was an alternative on the north side of town. And it was built during that time in the 1890s. And over the next 30 or 40 years, a number of rooms were added on, including beyond this is the fern room, after that is the orchid room, and then there's a special show room. And today we're going to be spending our time here. It's very warm. It's always between 65 and 75 degrees, and the humidity is quite high. Usually that's around 70% too. So that's why it's a cool day outside, but it's t-shirt weather in here. So why don't we walk this way a little bit. The cacao tree stands in front of me right here. Sometimes you'll see pods growing high up, and of course it forms chocolate. It was developed in the Amazon basin, and it has quite a history. It goes back about 4,000 years. In the Mayan civilization, it was thought to be chocolate, which comes from the cacao, was thought to be a spiritual supplement, and people used it all the time. And it always grows 20 degrees north or south of the equator. It grows wild in some parts of the country, parts of the world, but mostly it's farmed. And it takes a long time to develop the chocolate from the cacao, from the pods to the seeds, to letting them dry, to forming the chocolate. Additives are added to it to make it milk chocolate or to add a sweetener and things of that nature. What's important about chocolate is a number of things. It does contain a little bit of caffeine in it, so it does act as a little bit of a stimulant. It also contains quite a few antioxidants, and antioxidants are what help us fight off the effects of something called free radicals and things that can eventually develop into cancer and other things like that. So it's good for our immune system, at least in reasonable quantities. It has flavonoids, and these have been touted as being active in dementia and improving our cognitive skills and things like that. If you notice, once again, that the genus is Theobroma. Theobroma was one of the original asthma medications. So I was looking for some pods. Sometimes we can see them up here. In the last 30 or 40 years, Theobroma has been replaced by theophylline and by other newer drugs, of course. But originally, it had that dual purpose as an antioxidant, which it still is, and as an asthma medication. We'll move on a little bit. This is the coffee tree right in front of me. It's an exotic evergreen. It comes out of the Middle East. It was developed in Ethiopia, and legend has it that a farmer noticed that his goats were eating quite a bit of the leaves, and the goats became quite active. They weren't sleeping as much. They stayed busy, and eventually the coffee beans, which we call cherries because they are red when they're ready for harvest. We can see some green beans down here that'll eventually turn red. Coffee went from Ethiopia to other parts of the world. It was brought to Europe, and actually to Venice, and it was because of its effects in terms of being stimulating. It was thought that it might be something wrong with it or immoral. So Pope Clement in the 1600s tried coffee, and he decided that it wasn't anything evil. In fact, it's good. And coffee, especially in moderate quantities, can be an excellent stimulant. And we know that a lot of people suffer from fatigue. Can you drink too much coffee? Yes, and you can take too much of it. But in small amounts, it's also been shown to be effective in terms of pain control. It's been used for migraines. It's a stimulant. Some studies have shown that it might be effective in dementia and things like that. And one study in women suggested that people actually lived longer who drank coffee. I'd say it's here to stay. In fact, I just had a cup before I came over here, and I feel fine.
Excellent.
Okay, we're gonna, okay.
Welcome back.
We're gonna go over to the banana section, which is right here. These are actually flowering bananas. The banana is actually the largest herbaceous perennial plant. These are flowering bananas. In the middle of the palm room, we have some actual banana plants that have grown very high. Usually what they do is they form a bunch of bananas, and once they form that bunch, most of the time they remove that tree, although it can continue to live on. But what a banana plant does is it forms shoots, and we can see some of the shoots that are growing around in the soil right around the main tree, and that's how they develop. Bananas come from an Arabic word, banan, B-A-N-A-N, which means finger, and it's been on this planet for 10,000 years or so. It was originally in the Philippines and Indonesia and places like that. Some people call it the first fruit. It was brought to the West by Alexander the Great, and it was brought into Central America and South America. They use a fruit like these called a plantain, and they named it that because it looked like the plane tree. The bananas are really important in terms of fiber, vitamins, potassium. You should be eating 1 or 2 bananas every day. The bananas that we get in this country are Cavendish bananas, and they're very good, and we're lucky to be able to get them all different times of the year. But they are a useful source of many nutrients and minerals.